It's time to rock and roll!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Gina Versa. Gene, what number episode is this? I'm throwing you in the deep end because I
Oh,
forgot to write it down.
no, it's all right. Yeah, I have it I have it written down on my thing. It's 169 because I'm I guess like kind of like the lore keeper here of the number of episodes.
You are,
Uh
and
It's a
thank
good
you.
number.
Yes, oh yeah, it
yeah.
is. Thank you, Gene. Nice. Thank you for
Thanks,
putting it
yeah.
at the top of the doc, which I had open and I just didn't scroll up
Oh,
further to see. So, all
you're
me,
good.
thank you very much for doing that. We're not alone today.
hmm Yeah, we have a friend of the show. She was just recently on Speedrun the podcast where we are talking Dust Bunny. But welcome back, Roro Sack, editor in chief of Nerdist, and yeah, a good pal of mine. And how you doing?
I'm very well, very excited to jump into a deep dive of Stranger Things, something that's been on my mind a lot in the recent every major holiday.
Yeah, yeah. And it's yeah, it's like 2 weeks too after the finale as of this recording too. It felt
Really, that's it? It feels like it's been a
yeah,
lifetime
it
for me.
does. Man, because
Just to
yeah.
take you through the glamorous life of a TV journalist editor, it was like I was watching the finale, the New Year's Eve. It's
hmm
8 p.m. Eastern, watching the finale, 10 p.m. My friend is over for New Year's. Immediately, I'm like, sorry, gotta go. I take my laptop, I sit down. My writer is on as well for a couple of articles, but obviously, like, it's New Year's Eve, like, and I mean, I don't have a wife and kids, but he does. So I'm like,
hmm
you get out of here. And then I literally wrote until 4 a.m., just different things. And I woke up and I wrote like three more pieces. I was just like, Happy New Year. I like paused
Yeah.
at midnight to open a bottle of champagne. And then I was just like, sorry. And then
hmm
on New Year's Day, I went and saw it twice in theaters. So
Whoa.
I was gonna ask you that. You
yeah.
went to a screening too.
I did. Netflix invited me to see it at their theater in New York City, the Paris, which was really nice. They actually invited me to go on New Year's Eve, but knowing as I knew that I would have to immediately write about it, I was like, I'm gonna do that one from home. But then I went on New Year's Day and they gave a little cute swag and it was just a really nice time. So, and a lot of people hadn't seen it yet, which was really, really, really neat. So there were like a lot of live reactions. And then we went to my friends and I had already bought tickets in the evening to go to the Times Square AMC, which if anyone knows anything about theaters in New York, that's like a really haunted theater. The vibes
Oh,
are always
is
cursed.
it? I
Yeah,
went there
yeah.
last year. Yeah.
The energies are always weird, but they were good energies for Stranger Things, and people were clapping and cheering and being like, "Oh my God," for Steve, almost dying. So
hmm
yeah, so and people really liked Derek a lot, and it was interesting. There were not as many cheers for my guy Eddie as I thought there would be. We were all
Yeah.
ready to be like, yeah, for Eddie, and nobody was like doing that. So
Oh,
I think
sorry.
that was sad, but we
Yeah.
did. We were like, forget you.
I have a quick
Yeah.
question. So they didn't give screeners out for these episodes all season long for you guys?
I'm not sure I'm at liberty to discuss that on me, and
No,
I
no
don't know
problem, no
what the
problem.
protocols around that
No
are.
problem. Don't worry about it. I just
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know sometimes
I
they
can
don't
say
do
with
that for you guys.
certainty we did not receive the finale, which was to be expected.
Yeah, yeah.
But some some screeners were received. So
No, you
I
don't have to
think
get in it. I
that's
apologize,
kind of
but
where I'm. No, no, no,
I
that's good.
just
I don't think it's actually something I just don't know. So I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, of course.
question
I
mark.
just I always feel like because I used to write significantly more critically, I don't really do that anymore. And screeners are just I always think it's they got to be more open with that stuff. People have lives and there's only so much time of day, and I always feel like you guys get the short end of the stick on that, and that's just not it's not cool.
The every major holiday thing was a tough break this time around. I'm mostly we did our best with it. And I guess it's such a rare occurrence for this like final show, a final season. final episodes. It's this huge long running show. So like I actually don't begrudge it too much. Like, would it have been nice if it had been on a random Tuesday? Yes, that would have been much nicer. But given that it probably won't happen this way twice, I kind of just like was like, okay, this is the situation. I accept it into my heart. This is what my New Year's Eve will look like. That's that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes in the world of TV criticism. And I can kind of understand why they felt like they didn't want it to be spoiled on such an intense level, especially around the finale. So I it's just how it goes. You got to take the fabulous with the occasionally inconvenient aspects of the industry. So I was excited I was feeling Stranger Things, so I
Mhm.
was gonna be watching it anyway. And then it's like, would I really have been doing anything other than writing it up in that time afterwards? Like, not really, because I'm so glad to like have a voice, have a platform. That's just how it goes. I think I speak for many people when I'm like, the more screeners, the better. We love screeners. We would never break that trust because we want access and screeners, more screeners for next time. So I think I speak for my team where like all screeners are in good silent hands with us, but unfortunately leaks happen and that's where everybody sort of suffers. So I think we're all just doing our best to balance those
Yeah,
realities.
no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could just imagine how you explained how time consuming this one was, but it sounds like you had a good time regardless. I mean, going back to see
I
it twice in
did.
theaters as well.
I
That
did
sounds very
because
fun.
I was like, I'm a real fandom girly. I get into fandoms. I fangirl hard, and I didn't know what to kind of expect going into this season because Stranger Things 4 did hit me hard in ways that we'll get into, but I found myself pleased with my specific areas of interest. So then I was like all in. I mean, I wrote my article after volume one. I was like, first I wrote my articles, then I wrote my fanfic. Like, so it was like I was there. I was in the moment with Stranger Things, and it kind of, in a weird way, felt like we were going to war with the kids of Stranger Things. We were like gearing up to fight Vecna,
Mhm.
covering the Stranger Things finale episode. So
Yeah.
instead of our little spears, we got out our keyboards, but it did feel climactic and like we
Mhm.
were going to battle in a sense. So it was
Yeah.
immersive in that way.
Yeah,
Could
it's always
imagine.
fun when a long-running series like comes to an end and a definitive end, not maybe something, that says end in the title and then it's like we're gonna keep doing more stuff immediately after. That's to me that's not really an ending, just by the nature of words and meanings. But like here, this felt like how often do you have this? Like long-running TV shows aren't that common anymore. So especially one as beloved as this, like it was super fun to watch this every season it came out with Friends. I mean, Gene and I have definitely been watching since the beginning,
Mhm.
as I'm sure you have as well. And it was so exciting. And we can just like start going through it. We have our little outline here, but just to go into it, I will say for myself, definitely a mixed bag season. Overall, very happy by the end though, and like I felt satisfied and fulfilled emotionally, and in ways I didn't expect to be. So I'm very happy with of my time with the show. It left. I'm on a good term with the show. I'm like I cannot wait to rewatch it whenever now. If
Mhm.
I didn't like the finale, I wouldn't be doing that. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's like you were saying, so rare for a show to have an ending these days and not a cancellation. I mean, I think the truth is that most shows get canceled more often than not in this age of TV. And so to have the chance to finish telling your story is like a real rare moment. And I think that is like very celebratory. Like so few shows get 5 seasons, and especially if you look at the runtime of Stranger Things, that really is like meant more than just like a 5 seasons amount of episode time in those 5 seasons. So I think that's worth celebrating. I think more shows deserve to be able to end instead of just end, you know. And
Yeah.
I think you're so right to say that the way a show ends so often colors its legacy, essentially. I speak from like being in sort of in the fandom world. Like if a show ends on a high, it can go on indefinitely being loved and celebrated and like created for, you know, like I spoke about Dust Bunny last time. I was sort of in this sphere, but you know, Hannibal that was canceled and it was ended on a high and then it went on and it still goes on. The fandom lives. So I think that how it ends is quite important. And I agree. I felt satisfied with the ending. Actually, I didn't watch Stranger Things since the beginning.
Hmm.
I I just 10 years ago, I wasn't working in film criticism, so I watched just what I wanted instead of literally everything. And I just never watched it. And then, of course, when Stranger Things 4 came out, I was working at Nerdist, so I went back and watched all of it at that time. And then I think actually I watched it sort of after the first part of Stranger Things 4, which was a great time for me to watch it because I really liked Eddie. And so I went back and I watched it all and I liked Steve a lot and I shipped Steady and that's true. Um and so I was like in that I got into the fandom of it all. But you know, over the last 10 years, and it's funny that you brought up things not really ending. I think Endgame is the perfect example of
Hmm.
that. Like Steve Rogers, that was the end of his story. Just kidding.
Hmm.
But actually, I feel that that movie taught me a really valuable lesson, and that is that you have to meet the project where the project is. And once I've started employing that nirvana, I feel I find myself a lot more satisfied with a lot more things. So watching the finale of Stranger Things, I felt that for the project of Stranger Things as we saw it on Netflix, created by the Duffer Brothers, this was as good an ending as we were going to get. This was the ending that matched their vision of the project of the story. And like I can totally understand people wanting more character depth, more nuance, more moments. Like I get all of that, but it's just not the project of the story. And I feel the ending matched the project, so I was satisfied with it based on that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good mentality to have, especially considering I think we were talking about it, the was it Gate? Was it Episode Gate? Is that the name of the conspiracy?
Conformity gate.
Conformity Gate,
Oh
excuse me.
God.
Yeah, which is really crazy because it's like
Mhm.
having like a secret ending to a show that's took them like I want to say yeah, like 3 years to put together.
Yeah,
And
so
mhm,
I'm actually I think there's more depth to conformity gate than you can kind of see just on the face of it. Like I was mentioning before we hopped on, like I think yes, I think there's definitely this element to it where you're like, this is how conspiracy theories are born. Like
yeah.
these people are like, how could you think that? Especially like we kind of understand what goes into the sausage of the TV project, the idea that you would make a whole episode just as a psych out, although I think somebody should now do that at some point, but that's neither
That'd be
here nor
cool.
there.
Well, I'll just say really quickly, the
Yeah,
person who commits to doing that is
I
gonna
know.
cause like a mass psychosis because
Because it's
Yeah,
like
someone will do that someday now.
because
I
it's
hope
like
so.
this, right? I'm so like I was saying, there's been like three big sort of fandom, conspiracy, fake finale moments, and they happen in Sherlock, in Supernatural, and now in Stranger Things. And I feel they were really all born, like the seed of them, before they like became this sort of wild conspiracy where we're like, let's look at the facts, let's check in with
Mhm.
reality, let's touch grass. Like because of this desire for the show to realize this queer ship. In Supernatural, it was Dean Cass. In Sherlock, it was Sherlock and Watson John Locke. In Stranger Things, it was Byler and Will and Mike. These fans really like hoped that this ship would become real. And I think there's just a lot of a lot of complicating factors with that because it's like, yes, it went too far, it got out of control. But yes, it's like legitimate to want that, to want like this
Mhm.
queerness to really happen, and it shouldn't. And there's a question that um that's important to ask in why. Let me just look up Sherlock finale. The Sherlock finale aired
I think
in
2017.
2017, yeah. So why in the
Yeah.
last 10 years do we still like have this intense desire for these queer endgames that still aren't realized to
Mhm.
the point where people want to believe these conspiracy theories to imagine that the show might honor this intense desire that these real fans of the show have. But I think that that goes hand in hand with what I was saying about understanding the project of the show and meeting the show where it is. Like, as much as we might want this queer representation to have been part of the project of the show, I think people who watch the show can just see that it wasn't, that
Mhm.
wasn't. And then, but I think with a place to hold space for the idea that most of the projects that get greenlit, that's not the project of the show. And that's not cool either. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I see this conspiracy, this conformity gate conspiracy. In a way, I totally agree that it got out of hand, that people are not like facing the reality. And on the other hand, I'm like, but the sort of core seed of it is quite understandable,
Mhm.
though it wasn't the project of the show.
Yeah.
So that's my fandom historian take on
I
Conformity
I
Gate.
think that's a great point because I'll be honest, like, when you start talking about it, I was like, where I didn't think that deeply into it, but I think you're absolutely right to talk about all that because it's not coming from nowhere. These aren't just
Yeah.
like no thought is born out of like thin air. There's things that like instigate chemicals in our brains to make us feel and respond to things in a certain way. Like that's I'm really glad you laid all that out because I totally agree and I see it now and yeah, it's a desire to yearning to see these sort of stories on screen and the fact that they're still so rare. Like it's not like a surprise that something like Heated Rivalry is like a phenomenon right now, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
Like if people want this shit, like
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a fellow Pithead, but there was a
I,
canon confirmation of a relationship happening that
oh.
people were like, "Oh, is that going down?" And then they opened the season with it and everyone's like, "Yeah."
Oh, I'm
Um
so happy to
so
hear that.
like they're
Exactly.
just
And
hooking up, but it's cool.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
I feel that's kind of my suggestion. Like that's my best suggestion as somebody who was in those trenches at some point, like, oh, can't Gene Cats just become canon until I realized that no, it just wouldn't. It just wasn't going to happen. Like to support projects that are making that their project, and that's a much better kind of use of the time than like in sort of engaging in these conspiracies about shows where it's like not their project and you are essentially just kind of like entering into a space that gets close to delusion
Mhm.
eventually.
Or yeah.
But then again, then that brings us back to also like, but also the number of shows that is their project, that's less. And then yes, Conformity Gate, it kind of escaped containment. Like, is that sort of the seed of it? Yes, that's where it started. But now it became like very out of hand.
Yeah.
So I think there's just room to balance all of these parts of it.
Yeah, and the grasping of straws for Conformity Gate is also it feels like the grassy knoll film that they're over analyzing of like in
Yeah.
like minute details of the color of the gowns that they wore in graduation. They're all orange, and I think
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean, this happened as well in Sherlock and Supernatural. People were like, the elephant on the wall. That means the queerness will have it. You know what I mean? But like,
Hmm.
but as ridiculous as it sounds, it's like I feel it's because like many fans have such an ardent like love of the show that it's
mm,
easier for them to accept like this delusion of like maybe the orange graduation gowns really matter, then to accept that we care so much about the show, but the show doesn't really care about us,
Yeah.
which is where the sort of cognitive dissonance comes in. But I think we can all agree that when we take a step back or when we are not emotionally invested in it, that we objectively can see that there's like that's not real. They just in the budget, like
Yeah.
that's what they could find, so that's what
Yeah.
they used. Like,
Yeah. The production designer just decided, to put
right.
elephants or whatever. Yeah, because it's like I can only really think of one show where there's like hidden elements in it where it mattered, which was Haunting of Hill House and
Oh
like all the
yeah,
hidden ghosts.
a
But that
beautiful
was
show.
Well, I would
yeah.
say like I think there's definitely effort for like Kill House, for example. That's a great
Mhm.
example. Like they'll put effort into that, and I think some of the stuff people were latching on to with Stranger Things, unfortunately, was like I don't think it was out of like laziness in the show's part. I think it
Yeah.
was just like it's such a big production, like slip ups happen. You're gonna
Exactly,
miss some stuff.
exactly,
Like, oh, the
exactly.
door in Mike's basement, it moved here, and it's like that set it doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore from the
There
first season. I'm
wasn't
sorry.
Exactly.
there
It
wasn't a
happens.
reference photo of the door, so they had to wing it.
It happens. It's
Exactly.
cool. They didn't
Exactly.
leave water bottles under the chairs in
Yeah, we could have
Fantasyland, Westeros. Okay.
yeah, we could have had a last season of Game of Thrones. That would have been even worse.
Dude, it's not even the worst season of the show, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, for
I
So
love
sure.
that
true.
show, but
Actually, listening to neither here nor there, but I felt like the last season had it for like 90 yards and then fumbled at the last minute. That is
Like,
just my take. I
yeah.
thought the last season itself was pretty good, but the last episode really dropped off. Anyway, that's
yeah,
really
Yeah, for
neither
sure.
another
here.
conversation.
But yeah, the final season for Stranger Things, yeah, it was I thought it was pretty like
Yeah.
overall pretty great. I think volume 2 was where it was kind of faltering a bit for me personally. There were some really good moments in volume 2, but I think like two-thirds of this season were pretty stellar, I would say. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for a show that's been on for 10 years, I think I joked about it in the notes. It was through three presidents, too. Like the fact that it finished on a good enough note that gave you like emotion from it. I'm not sure how you guys felt. We'll get to the ending, but I was feeling a little depressed for like 2 or 3 days after that ending.
Aw.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll get to that. But I was gonna throw out. Did anyone see? Because I knew about it the first shadow of the play. Did anyone see that, bro? Did you see that by any
I
chance?
did. Yeah,
Okay.
it's on Broadway and they invited me to review it back a while ago. I think not when it was like opened, but it was early days for it. But it was quite a while ago. And I will say that actually I was fortunate enough that they had sent me when I was going to review it the script so
Mhm.
I could reference the script of the play when I was working on my write-ups, sort of explaining it to people who might not know or have seen it, which let's face it, was a majority of people. So I
Yeah.
think that that's pretty telling that like I had even seen it and I still needed the script reference to kind of really get to where I needed to go with like understanding what was trying to be shared here and all the information that was in the play that might be relevant. And most people didn't have access to that, like even if they had gone to see it. So I definitely think putting the play on Netflix, as people have suggested, would have been a nice gesture to help fans prepare for the season. But I can, since it's still running, understand why that wasn't the moment. I'm sure they'll put it up on Netflix after it finishes its runs. But yeah, I mean, I think the truth is that obviously whenever you watch a TV show, if there's a mystery, like you don't know the answer to the mystery immediately. You have to wait and watch, right? In this case, you could happen to know the answer early if you saw the player or talked about it. But I guess the show did eventually offer you all the pieces that you needed to know from the play to understand Stranger Things 5. But I
Mhm.
do think they still remained a bit confusing, especially since they were kind of given piecemeal throughout the volumes. And I think people were still very like what was in the briefcase? What was the rock? What happened? And even though to me it was very clear that a piece of Dimension X slash the Abyss was in this suitcase and it had Mind Flayer particles, and the Mind Flayer particles flayed Henry, and that's when the Mind Flayer and he bonded and his blood changed and blah, like, and I can
Mhm.
recite it from memory because I wrote it in so many different articles, but to other people, I just don't think it was that
Now,
straightforward.
Gene, I want to hear from you too. I just want to say really quick for myself, I did not see the play. I know like some stuff in it. I did not feel lost with any of that information. I have my criticisms of the season, specifically like that second volume and a little like there's a lot of plot this season and
Mhm.
the character stuff is great and I wish there was significantly more of it. But that element when people have been criticizing it like, oh yeah, I've seen the play, like I don't think that's true. I think that's
Hmm.
online talk, is what I'll say. But Gene, what did you think of that? How did you feel?
Oh, I would say because I knew about the play and I just knew that it was more or less the origin of Vecna. Before watch for before this season, that's what I thought about it, and then you're kind of running into, I think volume one had some elements of the play that you would run into that felt, I wouldn't say like it was like frustrating, but it felt like a little I was like it made me very curious, so I would go on to the wikis and look up certain plot points and I guess like Easter eggs that they were putting in there of what happened in the play, and I'm reading the like synopsis. So it'd be like after the episode, I'd like just make a note of it and be like, what was that about? And then go to the wiki on my phone and like, oh, okay. So it wasn't like confusing. It was just kind of like I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I understand that now. Or you'd look up articles or what have you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was that jarring for me, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think just speaking like for our audience, we had a lot of people on our like what was in the briefcase article. Like a lot of people were like, what was
Yeah.
happening there? Like people were asking, like it was just a really like it wasn't even so much that I think it was like confusing. I think it was just like people kind of were aware in this was around volume two. They were aware that if you'd seen the play, you would already know it was in the briefcase. But they didn't know it was in the briefcase. They could wait till volume three and know, but there was kind of this awareness that people already knew. So people wanted to know. So I guess that was just kind of that feeling that like there was a mystery solved that you could have the answer to, that the show hadn't yet given you the answer to, that it would probably give you the answer to, but that you could also know it
Yeah.
right now, kind of. So I guess it was just a little bit of that tension. Like nobody wants to feel like somebody else understands this, but you have
Yeah.
to wait, kind of. Yeah.
Unless if you're a big Stranger Things fan and a big Broadway fan, you are set this season, I
Yeah.
would say.
And the play is really cool. I would recommend it if people have a chance. It's got really cool special effects and like really fun like animatronic stuff. That's pretty neat. Yeah, I think actually watching the play, it's a bit like there's actually a lot from the play that they don't really get into, which I again get, but then you're like, but then like Joyce and Hopper knew Vecna, like, and that's
Yeah.
just never brought up. Like, and you're like, shouldn't that be at some point like
Uh-huh.
addressed as they literally like it's not like they just casually knew him. They like knew him. You know
He
what I
yeah,
mean?
he
So it's like
was he was in their
you
production, right?
yeah, they were working together on that play. They were in rehearsals together. They encountered each other otherwise. Like, so it just feels like if they all knew each other, shouldn't that have a point? But it didn't really. So it was
Mhm.
just like, hmm,
Yeah, I had heard
interesting.
about that, and I definitely I would have liked to have seen that more. Volume two,
Yeah.
especially, they're like moving, 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 plot, 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 and I'm like, wait, there's like interesting stuff to talk about here a lot.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
I think they needed, in my opinion, I think it could have used one more episode. Like
I
season
think
two and
that could be
four were nine
true.
episodes. I think if they just had one more. They could have maybe let some stuff breathe a little bit.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
I think you mentioned, and we mentioned this too. We talked a lot about this, my writer and I. Like, there was just a lot of new things introduced in the last season, and instead of just like, let's start tying things up, they were like, a new plot, a new plot, a new plot. And
Yeah.
then you had to tie up all that new and also all that old. And it was just like, isn't this the time where we stop introducing new plot and start just like sewing up what we have going. And I think you mentioned that to Diego, and like that there were character moments and they were good, but we would have like wanted more of them, you know. And I agree, I really do agree. I feel like even my single issue voter status, where it's like, did they do Steve and Dustin justice? Yes, so I
Mhm.
declare the episode's good.
Yes.
Um, even there, I would have like wanted more, you know, and not to like go back into my AO3 fangirl, but I wrote a whole fanfic about just like moments they might have had in the 18 months, and people are like, "Oh, that
Ooh,
would have been so cool to see. Like we wanted more of that instead of just like these bit like little droplets. Everybody got a little droplet, you know, and it's just like yeah, I would have wanted it too. But again, I'm just like, it just wasn't the project. It just
yeah.
wasn't what they were interested in doing. So they didn't do it. So I have to accept that and then I can take it to fandom, you know,
Hmm.
kind of where
Yeah,
I've
unless
fallen.
unless it's like Lord of the Rings, you're not going to expect an extended cut
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
You
but
get sort of a Return of the King style like epilogue though, which I think was maybe even my favorite part of the season.
that was
Among
amazing.
the
Yeah.
other favorite stuff, you know.
Yeah, it was really nice. And actually, we were talking about conformity. I actually think that for such a mainstream show, like some of the things they did were pretty like not conformist in my opinion. You know, like Steve not ending up with anybody, Nancy not ending up with anybody romantically. I felt like that was pretty radical. I feel like the fact that Steve and Dustin, that's the most important relationships to one another, that's pretty radical. Like
Hmm.
you got Lou Max and you got Joyce and Hopper, you know, but basically like there wasn't this like need to tie everybody's story up romantically to give them all kids, like all that stuff that you usually might, you know, get in epilogues for IPs we don't speak about anymore. You know, or even like Endgame, you know, I'm like Steve is married, he has children, blah, blah, blah. And you're
Hmm.
like, spare me. Like, I feel like they didn't go out of their way to like make everybody fit into these cookie cutter molds of what their futures looked like. And I appreciated it. I was like, this is what I want for them. So I
Yeah, it
liked that.
was. Yeah, it was a very emotionally mature finale. I felt too. Kind of
Big
going
time.
to the yeah to this Return of the King finale because for Return of the King that also ends a bit not on a downer, but it's like it's like Sam has to say bye to Frodo as he goes to the Undying Land. And well, in the was it which book does it say that Sam eventually goes to the Undying Land too? But for the movies, they're pretty much separated at the very end of the story. So
Yeah.
that felt like some elements of that.
Yeah,
Um,
this real bittersweetness where it's not all just like perfect or all
mhm.
conventional. I actually, you know, like with Nancy especially, I really felt like I wasn't sure if she was like happy or actualized or like had sort of habitually like found herself comfortable in reality after the Upside Down. And I kind of liked that. I kind of liked that it didn't seem like she'd really like found her footing in life after, because that seems real. Like a year and a
Mhm.
half after you save the world and nobody knows and nobody's giving you money or reward, or like even Frodo got money and reward and applause for saving the world.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? But they didn't get any of that. So I feel like this jarring dissonance in a return to life and still having that sadness and still feeling broken in ways. I thought that bittersweetness was beautiful for everyone.
Yeah,
My
no.
my joke
Yeah.
headcanon, or at least one that I've seen online and then I kind of hijacked, is that Nancy invents, I think it's third wave feminism, and misses
Mhm.
shooting guns as much as possible because you can't do that anymore because there's no monsters to fight. And even though
Yeah.
she does kill like agents of the U.S. government, and it's not like the show is like, no, this is cool and good, and
It's
I'm like,
fine.
it's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
she's so
It's good.
badass. But my
yeah, it
real
was
headcanon is
yeah.
just that yeah, she's discovering herself and it's gonna take her some time. And I also really like that. She was my favorite in the first like 3 seasons, and I still like her a lot, but I just
Yeah.
Steve and Dustin kind of took, and Lucas. Lucas has been my boy for a minute, and I
Aww.
love him. I mean, Caleb McLaughlin's just got like movie star level charisma. Like
Oh
someone needs to
yeah.
take advantage of
And
that.
fashion, honey.
Yeah, he
10
fucking
out of
rules.
10.
And then Lumax, the chemistry between them is insane. Someone put them in movies together, have them play different
Yes.
characters, obviously, but like put them in movies together. People will watch it. They're very fun to watch on screen together. Um, but yeah, I think Nancy will figure herself out eventually. Where she leaves off, I don't know how content she is, but I think that's a positive. I think that's a good
Yeah.
for her. You can't be at peace all the time because you have to figure stuff out as you're getting older. And I think that is something that the show handled very well in the ending. Like the 14 characters on the
Yeah, I
roof being
thought
like,
it was so good.
let's all see each other every month. And it's like they probably won't, but like
Oh
they
my
they
gosh,
mean it. They mean
everybody's
it though.
saying that, but I actually am like, I feel I would think it would be like, for me, it's crazier that anybody else, they could ever bond with anybody else in reality, like any strangers in their lives. Like to me, the part that seemed crazy was when Robin was like, our partners and children. I was like, you're what? Like, who
Yeah.
are you having that? Who could you possibly ever relate with? To me, and again, this is just my headcanons, and I don't know, don't think this is what like the Duffer Brothers were inventing, but the show's over, so it's like mine now, you know?
Yeah, go for it.
Like it almost kind of felt like a polycule, you know, like they were all kind of just bonded, like intimately, this like
Hmm.
weird, like Steve and Nancy and Jonathan and Nancy and Jonathan and Steve
Hmm.
and Robin's hanging out with Steve, platonic life partners. He's showing up in her dorm and her lesbian roommates are like, what the fuck is this man doing here again? Like, I just feel like they're just like bonded in these ways that are unconventional that only they really understand one another. And of course, I think Eddie could have been a great fifth wheel in this mess, but
Uh-huh.
I just feel like it's almost less realistic to be like, oh no, they moved on and got just like people, normal relationships with other people who had no idea any of this was real. Like, no, I think that they're the only people in each other's
Yeah.
lives from here on out. Like, so
Yeah.
that's just my read. I know everybody is like, oh, they're never gonna get together, but I'm like, no, who else are they gonna get together
I love that, by the way. I
Yeah.
just want to reiterate that like I do think they're gonna try, and I think they might even do it. In my view of that
Yeah,
scene.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I
of
think they're
course.
gonna try to, and then just sometimes life, you go different ways, and it doesn't mean that love's ever gonna be gone.
Yeah.
They'll see
Yeah.
each other once in a while. I don't think they're gonna
I
stop
I
seeing each other
I
ever. You
think
can't after
Robin,
that.
yeah, I think Robin and Steve definitely are hanging out all the time. At
Well,
least because yeah.
Natalia and Maya, they were batting hard for romance, so I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah.
They're both
Well,
in Boston.
mhm.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Geographically, yeah. I was gonna say the Duffer Brothers, they're X-Men fans, and in the comics, actually, Wolverine, Cyclops, Emma Frost, and Jean Grey were at one point in a polycule. So there might be some logic to what you're saying too.
And we like so support Wolverine and Cyclops being on the moon together, talking about their
Mhm.
polycule.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they had a lot of tension between them. So you know,
I
And I
think
I
look
could
when
see it.
forward to that
yeah.
being canonized in Avengers Doomsday.
I don't
Just
maybe.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, no,
I
never,
think when
never.
when Jonathan saves Steve, they should have kissed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Break the
I feel
tension.
like they're obsessed with each other.
Yeah.
Low key. I thought it
Yeah.
was such a cute moment between one another where they were like, yeah, it's not working for me with Nancy. It's not working for me with Nancy. And it really looked like if you compare it to the framing of the shots with Eddie last season, it's like identical kind of sidle up, walk together. I was just like, it's working. We're here for it. And it's so funny because I was ready to embrace the Stonathan of it all after I watched season one. I was like, oh, they could be together. They could be like a throuple with Nancy. And then like they were never together again in the show until this last season. So I was like, okay, guess not. And then wandered away and then like could not have predicted the return of Stonathan to the Stranger Things 5. I was like, who saw that one rising from the dead? Not me.
Not me.
But
Mm-mm.
in all reality, I was just really happy that there was no Stancy and no Jancy, that Nancy was just doing her own thing, that they weren't like, oh, she has to end up with one of them because that seemed just ridiculous.
Yeah. 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 It was more realistic too. People from high school hardly end up with each other too. I mean, in some cases, yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, also because we talked about Eddie, because in your article you're talking about the use of Eddie Munson this season, particularly I forgot what episode in volume 2, but Steve gives Dustin kind of like a reality check a little bit for how Eddie died, right?
truly, truly. Yeah, so I mean, I feel okay, so I feel like the worst thing Stranger Things ever did, like the worst sin they committed was to kill Eddie in season 4. Just because, like, whether you want to read Eddie as queer or not, you must read him as this othered character. Even they talked about the direct analog to like these real cases that happened in the 80s where D&D players were maligned and wrongfully imprisoned. And it's kind of like instead of taking that narrative and flipping it, they perpetuated it because Eddie dies. So it's like instead of being like, no, the narrative, he's othered, he's tormented, he's bullied by this town, but he gets to survive, they killed him. And that seemed to me a crazy thing to do, especially with the real life analogs, especially with the idea that Eddie was representing this specific brand of people in small towns who are not understood by their peers, who are often bullied and maligned, and like to be like the ending they deserve, the heroic ending is their death was to me like crazy work and it really made me mad. And I watched that finale of Stranger Things 4 and paced across my living room and yelled with my roommate and wrote a scathing article, which is really good and I stand by about why Eddie's death was neither noble nor necessary. And to me, the kind of piece the cherry on top of that argument is like that last scene in Stranger Things 4 with Dustin, where Dustin is like, no, he never even got mad at Hawkins. He died to save the people who hated him, as though this were like some positive, heroic thing for him to have done instead of something totally stupid. Like, why would you die to save the people who had just bullied you for no reason for playing a card game? Or for not a card game, a tabletop role playing game. Like, um, like that was really like disrespectful to me and like such a poor, I thought, framing of why Eddie was heroic. Like he was heroic, but that was because he was brave for being overtly different in a place that did not accept that from him, but creating that space for himself and for all the other younger children who were looking for that space. But it's like the show kind of understood that, but we're like, no, he's really heroic because he didn't run away and he died for Hawkins. And that's kind of where Stranger Things 4 left it. And that really pissed me off. But it felt like in Stranger Things 5, they revisited the narrative and changed it to be like, oh, he died because he wanted to save Dustin because he loved him because Dustin is his kind of his legacy and Dustin wants to continue his work of like creating this space of being himself of paving the way for other people and I felt like that was a much better sort of vision of it and I actually had not expected them to revisit Eddie at all. I thought they were just gonna leave it there and been like, okay, that was it, he died a hero, he saved Hawkins, yay, like, but instead, he really was a very present figure in Stranger Things 5. And I was pleased with the way he was present. And yeah, obviously, that fight between Steve and Dustin was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But obviously, like Eddie fans for such a long time have been like, what the fuck? He died for nothing. And while I think the show really wants you, even though they didn't really do it or show it, I think they really want you to believe that he did like buy Dustin another 5 minutes or like the team and the who are trying to kill back now. I think they do want you to be like, no, his death did something, even though we didn't really see that it did. So I am willing to like accept that from them. The way I explained it to myself was like maybe the bats would have flown into the real world if he hadn't like distracted them. Fine. You know what I mean? Like I think a line about what his death did would have been really helpful at any given moment. But I'm willing to accept that we need to believe that there was some impact of him running back that mattered. Um, but what Steve is saying is like that his life was worth more with him living than with him dead, and I think yeah, we all agree with that sentiment, you know. And that just says, you know, like for obviously for me, the relationship between Steve and Eddie was really important, and Steve and Dustin, and Eddie and Dustin, and Steve and Eddie and Dustin, and like that really received a lot of space. It really was beautiful. Everybody really came to a place that I was agreed with, and the painful parts were really beautiful, but I really agreed with everybody's different opinions and how they were clashing. And at the end, Dustin was grieving Eddie, and Steve was grieving Eddie, and he was also grieving Dustin because Dustin had left him essentially and hurt him and was so cruel to him. And like that was painful to watch, but really good, really beautiful. I could have had a whole season on just that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dustin was such a dick too. He was like insulting him. He was just trying to
He
like,
was going through it
So
to
hard.
defend a literal
right. No,
child,
yeah.
you know.
But
Not to discredit Dustin.
Yeah.
no,
Screech,
no,
yeah.
it's I think the sort of the painful part, I think they actually did this well. It's just like, you know, with Dustin and Steve, it's like Dustin is moody with everybody, but he is cruel to Steve, you know, kind of because I
Mhm.
think Steve and Eddie occupy similar places for Dustin, but they're very different people. So I don't think it was like he wished, of course, he didn't, of course, wish Steve would have died instead. But I think there's a bit like, why did you survive and Eddie had to die kind of energy that Dustin was experiencing. And then, of course, the like, well, if Eddie died for me, maybe you'll die for me too. So we can't have that. So I have to push you away. That was just like so super duper intense. But I just think, yeah, I just think it was so painful because that relationship for Steve means so much, you know, because I think it's fair to say Dustin was like his first actual friend and for a minute his only friend. So, yeah, so it was just, well, I mean, I've written 18,000 words about it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
the
was
scene,
moved
yeah,
by all of that.
the scene where Dustin like stops Steve from going across. He's like, no, 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 you can't do it. Like I can't do that again. Like I was like, oh man,
It
that
was
Tears.
that hit
so
Yeah.
home, you know? Damn.
Yeah. They really acted so well in that scene too.
so
Joe Keery
beautiful.
and Gayton to it.
Yeah, Gaten's a
Yeah.
really he's grown into a really fine actor. He wasn't
Oh,
never
he's
like
so
weak,
good.
but like he's really coming into his own too. Like very
Yeah.
excited for his career. And obviously Joe Carey, Steve, MVP of the show,
Yes,
obviously fan
Yeah.
favorite for a
DJO,
lot of reasons.
Joe, however
Yeah.
you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for Steve, I mean, I think this is never like so over, like not as over as like people in fandom feel it, like talk about it, you know, but I think, you know, he was really affected in season two where he loved Nancy and Nancy called their relationship bullshit. Like, and I think that really like was just like a painful moment for him. And like obviously we kind of get the idea that he doesn't have like parents who really care about him and he doesn't have friends who are like seeing the real him. Like and he's really looking for this unrequited love or sorry, this like this what's that word where it's like oh man, it's escaping me, but just this love that's like freely given, that's really
Mhm.
pure, like that comes that doesn't have like a an ending to it. You know, he just
Mhm.
wants to be truly loved, and he finds that like love and acceptance from Dustin. You know, and I think it's really beautiful that it doesn't have to be this unconditional love. That's what Steve wants. He has this
There we go.
unconditional love. I knew there was an unword, but and that it's beautiful. It doesn't necessarily have to be unconditional romantic love. That it can be unconditional platonic love, like unconditional brotherly love. And he gets it from Robin as well eventually. But I think that that's like a really beautiful thing the show does so well is to show that like it doesn't just have to be romance that fulfills you as a character or a person.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really well said. And I think that's partly why Steve became such a fan favorite. He's kind of like, even though he was supposed to be killed off, like way back in like the first drafts or whatever, like they figured out how to make that character like the most realized with decisions like that. And like especially with the kids, it's like, it's much more like there's a pure fantasy element to it, like maybe a little wish fulfillment, like, oh, well, kids on bikes type narratives always kind of have that. So not a criticism. That's why the show is a huge hit. That's why we like it. It's fun that way. But Steve is the one who's like, all right, he's the oldest of the kids. He's also after season two, like quickly kind of becomes a loser. But like that forces him to have to grow up in ways while still being like Steve, He's like, okay, well, like he tried a real relationship in his eyes and it doesn't really work out. So now let me try to fall back into that. And it's like, that ain't working anymore either, dude. What do you got? It's like, well, he's really good at taking care of people, it turns out. And you can apply a lot
Yeah.
from that. And then so his ending where he's like coaching kids now, I'm like, wow, never once crossed my mind. I was deathly afraid of him becoming a cop. This is so much better.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
This
God.
is
God.
so much
Thank
better.
God.
Yeah, and it's so like
Yeah.
soft, kind of, which I
Yeah.
love. It's so like soft. It's like such a beautiful, like a nurturing ending, you know. And so often I feel masculine characters don't like you were saying, like, oh, a cop, like, like they don't get like to be soft, and I think Steve is so soft in so many ways that it's like so truly beautiful. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think he's a fan favorite, but I think if you just like look at the narrative of the show somewhere along the line, and it's like almost like the show doesn't even know this, but he's kind of their protagonist, I feel like nobody has been in the Upside Down more than Steve. Nobody has fought more of the show's villains more than Steve. Like he's fought the Demogorgons, the Demo Dogs, he was in the Upside Down, he fought the Russians. Like who's fought all of these people? He literally fought Vecna directly, like so it's like it's so interesting
He
that
fought several versions of Billy,
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean exactly a
and he won
true
once.
scary entity of the series. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, kind of going off of endings. So the moment, or excuse me, the thing before we get like the Return of the King finale, the final battle with Vecna, were we satisfied with that? Because that's going to be a talking point. I know all of the internet is like, it's like, where are the Demogorgons? It became like, I forget, there was like a similar like fan critique of, oh, it was like, what was it for Game of Thrones? Like, where was the fleet for
Oh, they
right?
forgot about him.
They forgot about it,
Or
which
Danny
I don't.
forgot about the Iron Fleet.
Yeah, I don't think that was it was like that deliberate of the creators just being like forgetting about something. It's just like they just really did not want
Well,
Demogorgons
okay,
for
to
whatever
be
reason.
to be clear, not to defend writers, I think they should have done a better job with the last seasons of Game of Thrones. Danny forgot
Mm,
is their statement. I want to give them
okay.
credit for that. They did not.
Oh.
It was
Fair.
Daenerys.
Daenerys,
I'm not
where's your
saying you have to.
checklist? Where are your
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
advisors?
I'm not saying you have
She
to
wasn't
give them
listening.
any more grace than that, but I do want to make
Okay.
it clear. Let's not misquote. That's all.
Yeah.
That is
But
literally all I'm saying.
Fair.
yeah, but it didn't feel like that level of like, you know what I mean, of craziness. But
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's
Mhm.
just how the cookie crumbles on the show. I think you just, like I've been saying, you just have to accept it. Like, yeah, how annoying that the demo bats existed just in time to kill Eddie and then never came back again to menace the narrative. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh, well, isn't that convenient? But that's just how the show works. When things are convenient, they appear. And that's the writing style. And, would we maybe prefer something else? Maybe, but that's how the show has always been, it turns out. Like when you need the monster to be there, it's there. And then if it doesn't need to necessarily be there, it's not necessarily there. I don't think that would be my way of maybe running a series, but that's just how the series is run. Like the demo bats also attacked Steve, much in the same way they attacked Eddie, but Steve didn't even need to go to the hospital and Eddie died. So it just that's just how the narrative works sometimes. I thought the Demogorgons obviously should be there, and the Demo Bats, and the Demo Dogs, and like, when Vecna entered Dimension X or the Abyss or whatever they're calling it these days,
Mm.
he saw these creatures all around. So where are they now? Like, and when the vines were pulled out of the children, little mind flayer particles flew out in the air. Where are those particles? Is the mind flayer really dead? Like, I don't know. There's just like, but like the show doesn't actually want to deal with those questions. So the Demogorgons weren't there, and they just weren't. And that's just the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
oh, you go ahead, Gene. I think we're
oh
kind of on the
yeah,
same page.
yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with the Demogorgons not being there necessarily because was it the official explanation is like it was a surprise attack. Vecna didn't think they would come to Dimension X, whatever. The only problem I had with that, in Dimension X looks empty. Um, they're it's just like it's this planet that's been hyped up for a couple episodes, and when they get there, it's just kind of empty. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
was that was the only problem I had with that for that
I think
part,
so too.
yeah, of the final episode. I'm like, just like something off in the background, like because there's rocks, but I don't know,
Yeah.
like some like vines on the rocks or like some like snake-like creature. It doesn't have to attack them, but like just give me more life to this planet that felt a little lifeless. I felt,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
I
I will be more critical.
Oh
I'll
yeah, no,
Yeah,
if you
be
say,
want to
more
be,
critical.
yeah.
Do
yeah.
it.
I think what I thought was going to happen was like you see that Vecna's like weird castle thing, which turns out to be the Mind Flayer. I was like, oh, that's probably the Mind Flayer, and then I started thinking, oh, what if it's like just a part of the planet, the dimension is the Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, and
Mm.
that's fine. That's totally
Yeah,
fine. That's just a fan theory thing. It's fine if those don't work out. I'm watching
sure.
the show I'm watching. And then the demo stuff not being there is just straight up like, no, you guys, you dropped the ball, I think. Because
Yeah.
like I'm fine with surprise attack, great. Then
Yeah.
you should okay. There's taking clock element now because now you got the demo bats coming, you got the
They're
demo
coming.
dogs, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Then
Yes.
it's like now we need to get out. We need to
Just
kill it,
call
save the
the
kids, and get
ranks.
out. Yeah,
Yeah. Will
that
Exactly.
should
Will
be
Will
like
could have defended them with his.
Summon the
Yeah.
horns of Gondor.
yeah,
Yeah.
something, Yeah,
No,
like oh yeah,
exactly.
really
I
fucked
think
up
that
Horn
would
of
have been
Gondor.
good if even he just been summoning them and they'd been like getting there or we saw them coming in kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do think something I will say is that this last few episodes did I feel like do a good job of sort of making you see that Vecna or Henry wasn't actually like this genius, mastermind, evil. He was more like this kid, this what, like 17-year-old kid stuck in suspended animation who got all these powers. And then that's how he was behaving, like this child who had powers and making these plans. And even though he had grown up, he would like done it alone and hadn't learned anything or changed that much. That's why he's still crying in his like when he sees the memory because he hasn't evolved at all. So of course his plan kind of is bad because he's just a stupid kid. He's not actually this crazy super genius or anything. Like if Dustin had been sent to the abyss, then we'd have to be really worried about what would happen, But Henry, he's just some kid, who happened to get powers. So I kind of jived with that. I wish maybe that had been underscored a little more, and maybe in Stranger Things 4 we could have felt that instead of feeling like he really did have this crazy evil genius plan and the plan was just kind of meh. Like what even was the plan? I'm not
Yeah.
totally sure we know what his end game was. What
This.
happens when dimensions slam
Yeah.
into each other? What becomes of it? Like
I
what
guess.
happens to all of Earth? Who is Vecna then? Like
Yeah.
none
I
of
guess it
those
was to get the
questions.
mind flayer to Earth physically. I guess
Mm-hmm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
more or less the plan. I guess, but it's
Okay.
not clear. It's not clear
To
enough.
to
This is
what end?
Hmm.
we'd kind of had all these visions of like a Back to the Future ending, something with time travel. Vecna was always associated with these clocks, with time. We thought maybe it like people would die, but then time would reverse and it would kind of like you go back to the beginning sort of ending. But again, this was just a fan theory. And yeah, in the end, they sort of did sort of a straightforward thing and it could have been more nuanced. I think we can all agree, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say that I do like that Will is the character who's like, you're a victim like I was. And Vecna's like,
yeah.
yeah, but I love being evil. And
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like,
That
all right, then
was
you die twice. Got it.
Yeah, that was pretty satisfying
That
because
ruled. That was
yeah,
awesome.
there's that's I mean, we were talking about it being emotionally mature. I'm like, that's actually pretty emotionally mature. There's some people that just like being assholes. There isn't really like
Totally.
there isn't really like they don't really get redemption. They just kind of die an asshole. So
Totally.
mhm. And then he got his head chopped off. So
He got impaled through the back out of his chest and then his head chopped off. That was great. To me, I
for
was like,
extra
okay,
measure,
thank you. Yeah, don't give this guy too much leniency. He has killed many children,
many
including his
children.
own sibling. So like
Hmm.
True.
I think he's pretty far gone at this point, you know? Like not everyone needs to
Oh
be
yeah.
Darth Vader.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. No, I thought that was great. No redemption needed for Vecna. In fact, the play really I feel the play redeems like a lot, and they didn't put on all of that stuff in the show. But I think the play maybe took it a little too far, even to be
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, he's just a kid. The mind
hmm
flayer is manipulating him and messing with him. And even though in the show it doesn't feel as egregious, like when you're looking at this much younger child and like from the age of 8, this evil voice is driving him essentially crazy inside his own head. You're like, even if he says he joined it, it's like
Hmm.
when you're 8 and you're being like driven insane, like is that really of your own free will, etc. But like the show doesn't really make it as complicated, which was great. But like then it's interesting that the play kind of does. But yeah, yeah, but that's fine.
yeah. I'm very curious. The play just they give it more context of like how he was getting corrupted because I've read a little bit
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very visceral. It's like the mind flayer kind of taunts him. It shows him all this fake visions of like the woman he loves being, or the girl he loves being mean to him, or like
Mhm.
who he is. It just really, tortures him inside his head essentially, and really is always pushing him to commit evil, to embrace the powers, to lean in. And it's like, he's this child in the face of it. And Dr. Brenner's there also like manipulating him as well. So there's all these forces outside of this child. So it's like, it just feels less straightforward. So we really, based on the play, we're like, oh, they're totally gonna like Vecna redemption. But then they didn't. And I think
Yeah,
that was for the best. I think that the show maybe, or the play really went maybe a little too far to give Henry like just this like something beyond just empathizing with him, but being like, well, when you're 8 and you're fighting a evil power that's showing you visions of you killing, like, is it really your choice? Do you really know what choice is anymore? Like, so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, no, that's interesting though, because
yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, at least there's like context of like how he became that, but doesn't
yeah,
necessarily mean he has to like turn good. But
yeah, for
he's
sure.
he's dead now too, so doesn't doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Vecna.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I found that last battle at least, even though there was potholes, at least like emotionally satisfying. When Joyce chops off the head of Vecna,
Yeah.
that's a really good cheer-worthy moment. I'm sure in the theater, people are like clapping.
Yeah, yeah,
It was like Captain America level getting Thor's hammer, right?
yeah,
In the
yeah,
theater.
for sure. People were excited.
Yeah.
But mhm.
I think that's the like the onslaught of Demogorgons like coming back in this hypothetical scenario that I pitched and that didn't happen.
Uh-huh.
I think that would have helped like a lot of the cast is together a lot this season, and as
Yeah,
a fan of all these characters, I like it. I think that leads to a lot of my issues with like the pacing and like there's too many people that have to talk now,
totally.
And
Totally.
with that
Yeah.
finale, this is the only finale where they're all working together and like in the same space, I mean. And it's
Hmm.
just a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
there's also stuff like Nancy like just straight up being like, I'm gonna shoot the giant monster in the face, and I'm like, this is what I'm here for. That's my girl.
Uh-huh.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
what we're
And
doing,
that's
man.
great for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Well, yeah. It's also, I feel like this is probably the only time I've seen all these characters together in the show.
Yeah.
In the last like two seasons, because like for some of the pairings, it's all, well, not to say like some of the pairings are bad, but there's some characters that just got like group together and you never really see interact either. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was at least interesting to see them all together after being separated for these last like two seasons.
Yeah, I know a lot of people kind of hoped like the sort of the party would be together and have them all be like fighting together, and that kind of didn't happen. That's fine with me because it's not
Me too.
my like specific area of interest. I can see why people would have maybe wanted it, but
I
you
mean,
can't have it all.
yeah, and then just like as a show, like, because I love that, I love the group dynamics in the first and fourth season the most, maybe
Same.
three. I know it may be
That's
controversial, but
also
that's another
good.
thing. But I also am like, but if you keep putting them together, like, what else are you gonna get out of them? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
is that gonna
It's
propel
like,
them to interesting areas, or do I just want to
yeah.
see them again, even if it's boring? I don't want that, you know?
It reminds me of Scooby-Doo, where when the gang would go investigate, it's always Velma and Fred, and then it's always
Yes.
like Scooby and Shaggy, and then
Yes.
yeah, it's just like Velma, Daphne and Fred, and they always just like go that way. And I felt like for Stranger Things, like there were certain groupings they were just like, okay, I guess they're so comfortable writing with that they just
Yeah.
go that way.
Yeah, and like I said, like I wanted Steve and Dustin to be together and Robin. Well,
Yeah,
Robin and Steve weren't together as much as I maybe would have liked, but they were together a lot in the past. So I am like, fine, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
right. A good
We allow
example of that.
it.
Yeah, it's like because we
Yeah,
know their
yeah,
bond already. It's like
yeah,
they don't need to be
exactly.
challenged in certain ways, you know. But
Exactly,
like Steve and
exactly.
Jonathan being together, even if it is a
Yeah,
little like
yeah,
you know
100, a
familiar, it's
100.
like yeah,
I think
it's new
so
stuff.
too. I
yeah,
think so too.
definitely. And I guess also going into that after Vecna, we have the Prince Needle Drop, which was great, but they do the whole side of the album, and which is, I love all the Prince music, and really,
They
yeah, it was,
paid for it and they were
yeah, it was
using
a
it.
hundred million dollars maybe. That's my estimate of how much.
Really?
No, I'm just joking. Like it could have
Oh,
been.
okay.
I think it was up
It's
there. I don't
like,
know.
really?
A
It is
hundred
Okay.
million.
notoriously hard to
It was,
license.
yeah. It was like a probably insane amount of money.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we ever find that out, it'll be something crazy. But um, I guess the kind of leading up to the epilogue where 11 closes the gate, or so we think. How are we feeling about that? Because that was, out of the whole amount of that finale, I was like, oh, I wasn't crying when that happened, but I think I found myself like in the day or two after, just kind of like, I think I was like watching the scene again, like tearing up a little bit, and I was like, man, that was a heavy scene to watch, because it's just yeah, I wanted her and Mike to be together, or just at least like not like
Yeah, I think
breaking
it's
up, you know?
I think it's kind of sad that they were like everybody can be alive and together except 11. I thought that was
Yeah,
weird. I was
mhm,
like, I feel
except
like
Mike
that's
too.
just weird. Except, well, Mike was alive and with them.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was still part of, they were still all together. They weren't, he wasn't together with 11. I was just like, it was just weird where they were like, only 11 can't be with
Yeah,
them
and also,
anymore.
yeah, also they have like Hopper earlier, kind of like making this whole point of like, oh, your childhood got stolen, your life
Yeah.
got stolen, you deserve like to be happy, and then she just like, as far as we
Yeah.
knew, died, you
Yeah.
know?
Or even if she didn't die, she's still not like with her friends,
Hmm.
which is kind of sad. Like it kind of feels like they're like, oh no, but not 11. I was like, but well, everybody else though. Like, so why not 11 at this point? You know?
Yeah. Do we all believe she lived or died? Now I'm curious.
I think for the ending to work thematically, I have to believe that she's alive because of the criticisms you guys are just given about that. Because I agree with that. like I want to say it's a little weird that the two powerful magical fantasy women characters die horribly if you believe Eleven's dead. Callie, I know, worst episode of the show, arguably, completely agree with
Like that
that.
episode.
Not a bad character and not a bad actress. If she wasn't in the season, it would have been cheap and wrong for me. I think she should have been in the
Hmm.
season earlier. I think she should have been the end of episode one as the cliffhanger to join the
Yeah.
group for a little bit. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of feelings about this. I'm sorry, I have to rant
That was all
because
good.
this
Please.
ties into your answer,
This
Gene,
is,
for your
yeah,
question. I'm
it's
so
become a
sorry.
therapy session because this is
Yes,
dramatic
because
finale.
Callie lost her life with her friends. It was taken from her.
Yes. So
And so
sad.
that's why she's like, we can't live in the real world. We can't do that. She should
Yes.
then see how Eleven has adjusted to that and how even now it's like imperfect, but she should see the community she had because she didn't, because she was kind of like nomadic and stuff like that, Callie. But if she saw that, I think that's an interesting dynamic because she can even still be like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like that's fine. But she
Yeah.
should have that counteracted with those relationships, I felt. And then we could have
Yes.
gotten new dynamics. Like, what does Dustin think about this? He's the one who's always like,
Yes.
"Whoa, hold here, let me figure this stuff out." Like probably could have figured
Yes.
something out.
Yeah.
So all
There,
that being said, I think it works so much more thematically for me if they did fake her death because then it's I know everyone's mad at the Duffer Brothers for their answers lately.
sure.
We
But
don't listen to the
they
post talk. We see the
they
episodes and they
Yeah,
speak for
there was. I did
themselves.
listen to the Josh Horowitz interview with them,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
they had mentioned something I thought very interesting, and I kind of I really like it, and I would subscribe to it. Where, the at the end of like the powers and like the upside down, it's the end of like the youthful fantasy the kids have gone on, right? Because
Mm.
this is a coming of age story ultimately. It's a coming of age adventure
S-
story, and
So
so
that's so interesting. But please finish your thought if you're still going, and then
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
hop
Just
off that.
I'll wrap up right now. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah,
sorry,
yeah. No, no,
but
no, no. Please don't be
um,
sorry.
but
It's just like,
I
yes,
think
good
that's
thought.
why like that helps me accept it like Mike accepting it that like this is just a journey of their life. This will not be their life forever. It can't be. No part of our lives are our entire lives as people until we die, right? Like we all go on these little journeys individually. And I think this is part of Eleven's life, and she can now go live like a real life. It comes at the cost of her relationships with these people, but it doesn't mean she's not going to connect with other people
Hmm.
in new and fascinating ways down the line. This just isn't that story. This is the story that allows her to get there, even though those relationships she established are over. She's so young. She's like they're like 17, 18 by the time the story's over, right?
Yeah.
That ain't a lot of time on planet Earth. There's a lot of time left for them, hopefully. And so to me, I believe, I guess, is the end point
Aw.
I'm
Mm.
making.
So I actually think that's so interesting that quote you brought up, and I was also thinking about to a point I wanted to make was actually like that's actually why like I would like her to be alive, but kind of because I reject that notion of like, and now they have to be adults and they have to let this magic fantasy go. I'm like, that sucks. I think I'm like, oh, so they just to go like to work every day, even though at some point there were powers and monsters. Not
Uh-huh.
that I would want the end of the world to like go on or come back or whatever, but if I were part of that adventure and like fighting those monsters and there were powers around me and these team dynamics, I would not want to just be like, and now, oh, it's over. Like, she's gone. I would not want 11 to leave. I would want that magic to stay with me. I would want to still be connected there. And I'm kind of, like I thought when I was younger that someday I would have to stop being in fandom or like that I would have to stop writing fanfic or like engaging in the community. And then it turns out I don't. I haven't. You know what I mean? Like, and so I just feel like I reject this idea that's presented that like she's keeping them safe or she's allowing them to live real better lives by removing this element from it because by removing that element from it it's like you're damned to normality and that I would never survive that. I would be chasing the powers
Yeah.
forever. Like,
Yeah, maybe Mike finds her. I don't know.
I
yeah,
mean, who's to
maybe. Who
say, you
knows?
know?
Yeah.
But just like I'm thematically, I guess. I'm just
Yeah.
like, if I were those people, I wouldn't really want to just move on and go to college.
Hmm.
Like, yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I also don't want to fight monsters anymore, and
True,
yeah,
true. That's probably
that's my
true.
one thing on that. That's the one.
Right? You'd want to stop fighting the monsters, but just keep the power.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, just use it for like any inconvenience,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I left
Right?
the remote over there. Zoom, you know, like
Right? Like you kind of know magic exists. You know other dimensions exist. Like wouldn't you feel curious like what other dimensions exist? Like, yeah, that dimension sucked, but maybe there's a really awesome you know what I mean? Just like this
Yeah.
you suddenly have this intensity of knowledge, this like you've taken a bite from the apple, you know, and then 11 is like, no, you must be doomed to your one mortal life, you know? And I was just, I would not be able to be like, oh, I know dimensions are out there, but what I'm gonna do is go to school,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, there's also, I mean, it was like very emotionally satisfied, but
Yeah.
when I think more about it, I'm like, oh man, Mike's just like writing about their adventures as a writer. And I mean, he's probably getting paid, but I'm like he's probably like a deeply lonely person or
Oh,
something. I don't know. He's like one of the
totally.
yeah, he's like one of the, I forgot like what Stephen King character from It is like
Yeah.
yeah, that's
alcoholic or some.
exactly who he is, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh
Yeah,
my
which It character is that gets all like depressed after?
That's
So the one that stays
shit.
behind, right?
Yeah.
I think Ben.
Is it Ben?
I think it might be Ben.
My favorite Stephen King book. You think I'd remember it? Okay, hang
Yeah.
on. I
Listen,
gotta
at
get
the
that right now.
moment, you never remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is Ben.
yeah, or Bill.
Bill.
Oh,
Okay.
Bill.
Bill. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Mike just became Bill, but yeah.
I
Well,
mean, the original plan was to do like a jump forward in time at some point in like the second season or something where you catch up with the kids as they're older. So they were just
Interesting.
doing like fanfic, which I'm not against, by the way. Like I'm,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
maybe that could have
Yeah.
been interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so interesting. I just feel like it's like, and I mean, I think like with the Lord of the Rings, right? That they do it really well. It's like Frodo couldn't go back to normal life. He couldn't accept again the happiness of the Shire.
mhm.
But he went to Valinor, so it's not like he was living some boring existence in the high school. There's still adventures, you know.
Yeah.
They were just new adventures. And again, yeah, it's just, it's like, obviously I'm torn. On the one hand, I really found the epilogue very satisfying and emotional, and I cried, and I love that they're not healed and they're still in pieces. But I like to imagine that eventually they're like, oh, these small lives, we can't live them. You know,
Hmm.
we have
Yeah.
to have something greater than
Yeah. I
this
Yeah.
mean,
again.
I guess that's my question to you both then. Like why does it have to be like just uh normal conformed lives? Like we're just seeing the tail end of this part, you know, like
Hmm.
their lives are gonna go
Yeah,
on. Like we leave these
exactly.
characters for like 12 to 18 months at a time and some crazy shit keeps happening.
That's right.
So
That's
who
right.
knows? And I'm not even
Yeah.
saying fighting monsters and stuff. I'm just saying like life itself is so much to offer, even
Yeah.
without that, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I guess to me that I didn't feel it was too like constrictive for characters that have
Yeah.
been touted as outsiders so often.
Hmm.
Totally. I
Yeah.
agree. And I think it's nice to be open-ended and that they didn't like lock them down for like the next 30 years, that they just went forward a little bit and were like, and here's where they are now, here's where we're leaving them. We're leaving them with you. What you think happens, that's your thought for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So conformity gate, disproven it. Like
Yeah. R.I.P. Conformity Gate.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say, kind of going back to the Lord of the Rings comparisons that we're making too. I'm sure, like, when Frodo goes to the Undying Land, I don't think it was boring there. Probably had
No,
adventures, right? Him and his uncle.
exactly.
Yeah, he was with
Oh,
Bilbo. So if
Yeah.
You've
that's
probably
And the
had some
elves
adventures
the
that you
elves,
can't even
yeah,
imagine, you know?
and
a lot of elves.
Adar. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I
Yeah,
mean, when the elves die, they go to Valinor and are reborn. So
That's
that's
true.
true.
Adar's alive, and I'm sticking to
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
For all you Rings of Power viewers out there.
But yeah, it was a really great finale. I think the fact that people are debating it or maybe didn't like it doesn't make it bad, so to say. Maybe it just like shows kind of like the power of having a definitive ending that you're going to have like fan debate or analysis or I guess conspiracy theories. But like just the fact it had a definitive ending, which you know, again, you're saying that some shows get canceled, or maybe they end on not so great terms. At least this ended definitively, and the now the talk of it almost 2 weeks or so going into 3 weeks after it ended really shows like the power of the show.
Wild.
Yeah, I would say, but to me, yeah, it was pretty powerful ending. I would say for all the bumps here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and then there'll be a
as
spinoff.
and there'll be a spin-off, yeah. But as we
Of
start winding
course.
down a little bit,
Yeah.
I just want to
Hmm.
say, um, the Prince needle drop. I apologize, you didn't really answer that.
Oh no.
Please.
But obviously Purple Rain, one of the best songs ever written.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Prince, problematic fave for sure. But um,
Yeah, a little bit.
I think they should have used Peter Gabriel's version of Heroes instead because that was the
Oh,
established song
Ooh.
for when sad shit happens in this show, and then you land the last needle drop with David Bowie's Heroes,
okay.
and then it's full
Aw,
circle. That's my take. That's
I
the thing
love
For
I'm most
that.
upset about in the finale.
yeah, for when Mike and Levin are breaking up to use Peter Gabriel instead.
Yeah,
Okay. That would be different.
I'm
That'd be
that's my
different.
fan edit.
Okay.
I love
Do you
that. I was actually interested because when Max came back, they played this Moby song, When It's Cold, I'd
Oh
Like to
yeah.
Die. And that's
Mhm.
actually the song they played like when Eddie dies. And I was
Hmm.
like, this is
And Will too.
a
Will
confusing
fakes death. Yeah.
right. I'm like, this is a confusing needle drop for her returning to life. I'm like,
Well, it's when
when it's cold, I
she's
want to
quote unquote
die.
dying too, though. She because they're cross cutting between her and Eddie in that
Yeah.
scene.
No, that's in Stranger Things 4. They play it again when she returns to life
Oh
In
yeah,
in
five.
yeah, yeah.
Stranger Things
Yeah.
5.
Mhm.
And it's the death song, but she's coming back to life. So it was a
Yeah.
weird, that was my weirdest needle drop. I was like, no, she's alive again. We need happy music. This is the death song.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
They
yeah.
really like Moby. I don't know why. He's been used like three
I mean,
I
times.
it's a
mean,
beautiful,
Yeah,
emotional song,
it's a
but
good
it's like
song.
about death. Like,
yeah.
I
Right.
just
It's
like,
also it's
I
not
agree
in
with
the
that, by the
80s
way.
either, right? It's not from the
sorry?
80s.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it is,
No.
but I love it, so
Yeah. No, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I would argue that the direction in the volume two episodes was not the strongest of the show. Some might
Yeah.
say the weakest, which
Who directed those?
Sean Levy and
Oh no.
the brothers, the
Oh no.
Duffer
Okay.
one and Duffer two. And I want to say I'm
Hmm.
not even shitting on Sean Levy because nerds are
No.
upset at him as a filmmaker, and I
Oh
don't love a lot
no.
of his movies. His episodes in the previous seasons are fucking heaters.
Yeah.
Heaters. They're
Yeah.
unbelievably
The
good. They're the
best
best
Unbelievable.
episode,
episodes of the
yeah.
Yeah.
seasons.
100%. 100%.
So I was like, well, his episodes are going to be good this season, and I was like not happy with them. So
Yeah. They had the unproposal, which I don't even know what that means. I still
you
don't
know
I
know what
what?
an
thought it was a fine breakup, to
it
be
was
honest.
yeah, but
I
like I
liked
guess
that scene quite a bit, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
guess
like
the
I
term
said,
of like an unproposal, you could just say like we're not gonna get
right,
married.
we're not gonna get married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm like a single issue voter, and a lot of the really intense Stephen Dustin stuff happened in volume two. So overall, I feel really positive about it,
Okay.
unlike everybody else. I'm just like, well, my single issue was met and met well. So
Okay.
I say good. It's just me.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
had the
that's
fight, they had the ladder, they had the, all of that happened in volume two.
yeah.
And
You
They
that's
got
die, I
back
where,
die.
together.
you die, I
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, the
He
reprisal.
apologized about being mean to Eddie. I was
Hmm.
bawling,
So good.
So,
Yeah. I guess they're going camping in the epilogue. He has
yes,
like
that's
the
the
car and
RV.
RV, yeah. So
My My crazy headcanon is that Steve's beamer will find Eddie somewhere in the
Oh,
multiverse and bring him back when they're playing some song of note that Eddie might have wanted to hear.
Eddie will
Metallica.
return in Avengers Doomsday.
He will,
He
in
is, yeah.
fact.
He's
Oh my
Human
God, that's
Torch.
right.
The Human Torch.
I
Will
forgot
be
about
No, it's all
that
right.
movie, so
present.
my
It's
bad.
okay. He's pretty good as the Human Torch too.
He's a very good actor.
Oh, he is.
He's a very good actor. It's easy
Go
to see
off,
why he
Joe.
like became he got
He
a hot
blew up.
streak
Yeah.
recently. He's great, fantastic. Very good in his Quiet Place movie as well. Really,
Oh
really liked
yeah.
him in that one.
Yeah, that was amazing. And
Yeah.
I think as we kind of wind down and wrap up, I think I will say that I do think it's crazy work that they like literally never brought Barb again for anything. Like not a
Yeah.
flashback, not a dream sequence,
She's
not a vision. Like,
she's in the
no.
credits.
She was
She's
Does she wait? Does she get a
she
bit when they're doing the
yeah, they
when
show
Winona
her
Ryder's cutting
yeah,
off
dying.
the
they
head?
show
Right?
her, but it's not a new scene. It's
Oh,
Yeah,
just
she
okay.
doesn't like they don't have like
she
a
never,
Rise of
I
Skywalker.
feel like everybody thought that something would happen with Barb at some point after season one, and
She's
it
just
literally
dead.
just never did,
I
which
mean,
is kind of fabulous
yeah,
and kind of hilarious.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
she's just
she
dead.
died,
But
like.
like
I know,
maybe get like
I
a
know,
yeah,
I
get like
know.
a she's like a force ghost or something. Tells
No,
Nancy to use
I
yeah,
really thought
something,
there
yeah.
would be some Force Ghost, something or other, just to give
Yeah.
all those really beloved characters. And with sort of being in the minds of people, and when you go into Vecna's mind, your
Hmm.
mind kind of manifests. So, like, I feel there could have just been like one sort of concluding finale moment with everybody. But again, it wasn't what they were interested in. I just wanted Eddie again. That
Yeah.
was my single issue. So
Sorry.
that's okay. That's
Well, he
okay.
got
It's
mentioned.
okay.
He
Yeah,
did. He did,
he
yeah.
was so viscerally present and it's
Yeah.
like so easy to slot him into where the narrative ends for everybody. So I have
Hmm.
no complaints. I'm at
Yeah.
peace.
And then
All
one
right.
last thing
Yeah, yeah,
before
please.
we wrap up. Thoughts on the spinoff of the only hint was it involves the Black Rock and it's another decade.
The only
Uh,
spinoff I want to see is Steve and Robin, the sitcom.
There you
So
go.
that doesn't seem like that's where the Black Rock is going. So
Okay. In the
we'll see.
90s, you
In the
know,
90s,
in the
yeah.
90s.
Just like having a wacky life in a shared apartment, and
oh, that'd be
Jonathan and
awesome.
Nancy cycle in and out, and Dustin. That's what I want. Is the Black Rock going to give me that? I don't think so. But I'm not like wholesale against it. I'm just like of all the things that I saw, the Black Rock was not the thing I saw that I was like, oh well, I wish I could see it in a spin-off, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I live on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I guess I don't think they're perfect writers by any means, but I do think like if they stay true to their word and like it's a completely separate like entity entirely that you don't need to have any prior knowledge of, you can just jump straight into this next show, which
Hmm.
is what
Hmm.
they've been pitching. Cool. I want more of that. I think more spin-offs and franchises should do that. How do you bring new fans into stuff? You don't worry about 20 to 30-year-old sequels to stuff that people are
Haven't
younger than us
watched.
aren't going to know.
Yeah.
So you just go to the next thing. Just start a new
Yep.
thing. Don't even
Yeah.
subtitle it. Like it would be awesome if it was like a surprise like Stranger Things
Yeah.
subtitle at the end
Nor
of the first episode and like people
yeah.
didn't know was coming,
Yeah.
which
Normal
is probably not
Mm.
going to
things.
happen, but like
Mm-mm.
that's the lane I want them to go. Because otherwise, I'm like, if you have cool ideas, you want to explore some cool sci-fi shit, go for it. I don't need it. I'll check it out if I hear it's
Yeah.
good. I'm happy
Yeah.
with this show. This show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to revisit down the line.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll find out in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
However long.
Also very funny that like I guess Finn Wolfhard just quietly like was talking to the Duffer Brothers and he was like, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
you guys should do this for spin-off." And they were like, "Can we talk to you for a second? Who told
Well,
you?"
I think they had mentioned or Finn mentioned that it was like that there were other labs kind of in the
Mm.
world of Stranger Things doing sort of different stuff. And then that is kind of their idea to like visit a different lab doing
Oh,
a
okay.
different experiment was is kind of I think something that's been thrown out there by Finn or by them or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool,
Interesting.
easy
Okay.
hook, you know? Like,
Well,
oh, it's
yeah.
we start the same, but we're gonna be different. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Classic spin-off
Yeah.
trick, you know?
Well, yeah. Well,
Exactly.
yeah. That's a good pitch because I think Finn is a writer too, so they'll just take that
Mhm.
like free idea from him.
Yeah, I like that he thinks about these things. You know, he wrote and directed his first movie recently.
It's good.
He's
Yeah.
probably gonna keep doing that. He's a very talented actor. I haven't seen this SNL episode yet. It just aired like
Oh
24 hours
yeah.
ago, right?
Oh my
Was
God,
it
the
from this
Stranger
movie?
Things stuff is funny. It's
Yes.
Yeah,
funny.
I
And
saw
yeah.
the.
there's
I'm a fan.
a little stuff for the fandom that we don't like to talk about Harry Potter because J.K.
Oh.
Rowling is a transphobe, but there was a
Yeah.
Yeah.
really funny skit that was kind of a little like kind of not it wasn't about Byler, but I think it was nodding at Byler because it was like this heated rivalry Harry
Hmm.
Potter joke where he was Harry, and for some reason it was with Ron, even though it obviously should have been with Malfoy. Duh.
Yeah.
But it
Mhm.
wasn't. Who knows? But that was pretty funny, and then this full-on Stranger Things one was really funny as
That was
well.
good. Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
full clip. It's yeah. I have to
Yeah.
watch the full episode, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess everyone listening and watching this, you know, on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, check out that SNL episode. Check out Rose's work. All of it. All of it. Thank you so much for joining us
Oh,
today
thank
on this
you.
show.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
delightful.
It was
You and I
so
met,
good.
met briefly at Comic-Con last year, so we'll have to link up again there this year with everyone. That it's always fun. I love going to Comic-Con and meeting all you cool people. So you're welcome
It's
back
so
anytime. This was
fun.
delightful. Anything you would like to plug or give people a heads up on, we'll link below. Please let us know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about Stranger Things that continue. But yeah, I mean, you can find my work primarily at nerdist.com. If you go to the Stranger Things tag, you'll find a lot of my pieces. I wrote a lot about Dustin and Steve. I wrote about Dustin and Steve and Eddie. I've linked back to my Eddie piece from Stranger Things 4, which I think is powerful and amazing. So you can check that out. But also, I wrote about a lot of other things. Right now, Fallout's our big thing. It's super good, season 2. So highly recommend you check that out. And then I'm on Instagram at Rotem underscore Rusak. I'm on Blue Sky at Rotem Rusak. I still have a Twitter. It's Moondancer1626. If you want the links to my fix, you can DM me on any of those places, and I will give them to you because I don't care. So that's me.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much. This was great. This is the first episode we've done this year. It's a hell of a way to start
Yeah.
2026. I almost said 2016 because of these stupid
Oh
fucking
yeah.
memes. My
People keep going
bad.
back. Yeah.
No,
That's when
no,
the show
not
started. They want to
that's
go
on the show
back
started.
again.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at 2016 and that was like my first year of like real, like in the Hannibal fandom, creating community around me in New York City. So it was like a really beautiful year to look at and, you know, being here now, being on podcasts, writing, all that. It's nice to see the journey. So,
I
so
was
excited.
an editor-in-chief of my school paper in 2016, so I can only imagine how stressful your job is. So thank you for taking the time. Sincerely.
Oh my gosh, no, my total pleasure. My total pleasure. It
Yeah.
was so fun.
Yeah. Thank you for being on. Thank you.
Perfect.
Gene, anything you want to plug? Otherwise, I'm going to refer to people down below for us.
No, no, I don't think so. I don't have anything to plug. No, no. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You sure? You're always so busy.
No, not anything that I really want to plug.
Okay.
Yeah. Not anything
Okay.
I worked on.
Okay. Well, you're very talented.
Thanks.
You're a superstar. Go check out Gene's work, everyone. Hire him. He's excellent at his work and a fantastic editor and friend and co-host. So thank you, Gene, for doing
Oh,
this with me for another
yeah.
year. Links down to the rest of our stuff below. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We have been professionally unprofessional.